Though decades have passed since he took his final swing, the immense shadow of Ted Williams lingers within the storied walls of this ballpark and beyond. He wanted it that way. Williams arrived here with an ambition splendid but simple: to have them say he was the greatest hitter that ever lived. But a legacy that big could not be defined so easily. His life began in a small house in the North Park neighborhood of San Diego, California.
My mother was strictly Salvation Army, strictly non-family. A wonderful woman in so many ways, but I wouldn't want to be married to a gal like that. The house was dirty, and Jesus, I hated it.
With both parents away so much of the time, the boys spent many days and nights of their childhood alone.
But Ted found baseball, and that was his structure.
The most fun I ever had in my life if I was hitting the ball and I could hit one, bow, you know, just like that. And gee, that felt good to me.
I think Ted was totally self-motivated. You know, the baseball field where he played, it's right there by the house. If you just went over there with your bat and glove, you could get something going.
They said he never had a girlfriend. Baseball was his whole deal.
Williams emerged as a huge high school star, and then, even before graduating, became a member of the local Pacific Coast League team, the Padres. Williams was signed by the Red Sox as a teenager.
But Ted had a lot of publicity before he got to the major leagues, and we were all looking for him.
They wouldn't be disappointed. The kid, as he became known, belted 31 home runs and led the league with 145 runs batted in. Baseball had its newest star. Boston, its newest hope. By the middle of the 1941 baseball season, Joe DiMaggio's hit streak, 48 games and counting, was the biggest story in sports. Ted Williams' more modest streak of 23 games had ended in June, though he was hitting above the magical 400 mark. In an era when the All-Star game was as big as anything in sports, at the Midsummer Classic in Detroit, the pair teamed up in the same outfield for the American League.
Joe DiMaggio came up in the ninth inning. We were trading, and then DiMaggio hit what should have been a double play. The throw to first base pulled the first baseman off. DiMaggio was safe.
The play brought up Williams. If DiMaggio had missed a chance to write a perfect ending, Williams was eager for his.
How do you like this for a setting? 2 out. The tying run at third, the winning run at first, last half of the ninth inning, and the 400 hitter of today at the plate, Ted Williams.
The one that hit me the most emotionally, was only because of the circumstances of being a young player, doing something for the first time in front of the greatest audience at the time that I'd ever played before, because it was an All-Star game.
Russell pitches, Williams swings, there's a high drive, going deep, it is a home run.
And hitting that home run at 41, and that was complete elation. Happiness, jumping up and down, and you know, boom, boom, boom. You remember other home runs, other hits, you know, but hit me the best, the heaviest.
Joe DiMaggio's hit streak ended on July 17th at 56 games. The Yankees would coast to the pennant. But in September, the attention again turned to Williams. He was leading the league in home runs, contending for a Triple Crown, and still batting .400. But on the road in Philadelphia, the final weekend of the season, his average dropped.
I walked all over Philadelphia that night worrying about not hitting .400, really.
There was a doubleheader the last day of the season. He was at 3.996. And the manager, Joe Cronin, told him that he didn't have to play.
Cronin, operating under the assumption that statistics were always rounded off.
I want to be a .400 hitter all the way through.
In the first game, Williams went 4 for 5, raising his average to 404.
And they weren't cheap hits. I mean, he was just so good.
And he wasn't finished. He played the second game as well, finishing 6 for 8 on the day and 406 on the season. But 2 months after the 1941 season ended, his pursuit of that perfection was threatened by war. Williams won the Triple Crown in 1942, but it would be his final season on the diamond for some time. He enrolled in Naval Flight School in November. The great hitter soon developed into a great pilot. And perhaps surprisingly, the ornery star took to the military life like a natural.
The truth is, he was a very structured person and, in fact, thrived on being structured. He never had a problem with anybody over him, never had a problem with an officer.
Ted came there to Chapel Hill, and we all standing around watching it to pre-flight, and he just electrified everything he did. Coordination, you know, is important in flying. You got to get the feel of the airplane, and he had that down cold.
Williams spent 3 years in the service, eventually becoming a flight school instructor. By the time he returned to the Red Sox in 1946, he was a more mature 27 years old. And the new, friendlier Ted Williams was a hit with the Boston press and fans alike. After the season, Williams was awarded his first MVP, and in the years to come would win another, as well as a second Triple Crown and 4 more batting titles. Williams remained comfortable, though, in the batter's box, winning his second MVP award in 1949. But soon his career was again interrupted by war, as the U.S. entered the conflict in Korea.
A bunch of time had passed since World War II, and Ted Williams hadn't flown one plane since he left the service. And now they're called to fly jets that none of them knew how to fly.
After spending nearly the entire 1952 season retraining in flight school, Williams landed for duty in Korea in February 1953. Williams began flying combat missions just after his arrival. And in one of his first runs, his plane found enemy fire.
So I'm up to about 18,000 feet now, and I felt like any minute I'm going to have to bail out of this son of a bitch. So all of a sudden, this plane right behind me, little Lieutenant Hawkins, young kid, he led me back to the field, and in the meantime, he's calling in, telling that, you know, he has a plane with him that's smoking.
All the Marines are in the air.
Big explosion in the plane. And all this fire and smoke was underneath me, see? I didn't have my brakes, didn't have my wheels down. And I had nothing to slow me down. All I'm thinking about is getting on the deck. And I never will forget, as I was coming in, I'm on fire. 30 feet of fire going up behind my ass, see? And I hit the runway, and I skidded 1 mile up the runway. So I was really coming in fast. And I'm saying to myself, when is this dirty son of a bitch going to stop? That's all I said. When is this dirty son of a bitch? And if I ever prayed in my life, the only goddamn thing I said, well, if there's a goddamn Christ, it's the time old Teddy Ballgame needs you.
But he landed on the stomach of the plane.
Having completed serving his country for the second time in the Marine Air Corps, Ted Williams once again prepares to return to play baseball.
Ted, I understand that your future address is Fenway Park. Is that correct?
Well, as of now, that's where I'm scheduled to go, Colonel. I plan on being up there tomorrow, and needless to say, I'm anxious to see if I can still hit.
Williams would return to hit .407 in 37 games at the end of that 1953 season. Gone, too, was the prime of his career. The man who wanted to be the greatest hitter ever had lost 5 years of at-bats to 2 wars.
He was 34 years old, and you get a mixed sense of how he felt. On the one hand, I don't think he would give anything for those 39 missions over North Korea. And I think that he did appreciate childhood so much. The Kid.
The Kid turned 39 years old in 1957, but finished the season with a remarkable .388 average, easily beating out younger stars like Mickey Mantle for the league title. And in the 1960 season, the hitter was reborn. Batting over .300, slugging his 500th home run, and providing one of the most dramatic final bows in sports history.
Quite a touching sight. Everyone standing at Fenway Park as Williams hit probably for the last time in a Boston uniform in this ballpark.
I'd looked for a fastball, and I got a gee with a ball to hit. And I swung, and I couldn't believe I didn't make contact.
Swing and a miss, and he took a mighty cut.
I thought, boy, how did I miss that?
Well, you can bet your bottom dollar Williams would like to hit one out of here right now.
I was watching Fisher, and he couldn't wait to get the ball to the catcher. And I said, he thinks he threw it by me. And he threw it in the same spot, same speed.
There's a drive to deep right center. This may be gone. Brad way back there watching. Home run, Ted Williams.
I'll never forget that one for sure. It's the closest time I ever come to tip my hat after playing for 22 years.
It's a special honor to have the privilege of presenting the nation's highest civilian award, the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Baseball came around, Boston came around, even the writers came around. By his later life, he was revered.
Well, I wanted to make a baseball movie for many, many years because baseball had been such a big part of my life.
Number 11. That's a bad luck number. Don't go into that.
What about 9?
9? Well, you got me.
I had the number 9 that I wore that I was dedicating to Ted. I just had him in my head as the perfect character to pattern myself after in terms of hitting and determination and the ability to block things out and focus on just what you were there for.